Welcome to Be Whole, Be Well, and Be Wise, the show that combines science-based and Bible-based education to direct you towards whole body wellness in Christ. I'm Shelly Tyler, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the things around probiotics, prebiotics, and what we are now calling psychobiotics that's necessary to keep your gut healthy and that gut-brain axis. So stick tight, we're going to dive in. So probiotics and prebiotics, I get questions every single day about what should I be taking, what brand should I be taking, how much should I be taking, does it need to be refrigerated, does it not? There are just so much information out there, and unfortunately, a lot of the information is conflicting. So we start to get a little bit confused about what we should be doing in that area. Probiotics and prebiotics are very popular dietary supplements. And after vitamins and minerals, more American adults use probiotics or prebiotics than any other supplement, according to research. So there's a good reason for this. Not only is gut health becoming recognized as a key pillar of overall physical health, but also recent studies point to the fact that these probiotics, these good bacteria, actually influence a healthy gut that influences your mental health as well. And this is important for the whole entire family. So if you think about the impact of mental health on the family, you're thinking about each person, how they respond to life, how they handle stressors, their resilience, how they see life through their perspective and in their eyes. When everybody comes into the family unit with different perspectives and different ways that they're processing things, mental health becomes very, very important to maintaining peace in the home and especially in parenting. So if we think about how important it is, this should really get your attention. What we know is that the gut and the brain actually work together. It's called the gut-brain axis because it's a very complex communication network that links your GI system and your brain. So I'm just highlighting the significant role that gut health plays in overall mental and emotional well-being. For children, a healthy microbiome, that means there's diverse bacteria and microorganisms, is just crucial for proper development. And it influences not only digestion and how we're absorbing our nutrients, but also mood, behavior, and cognitive function. And it influences how those things form for our entirety of our life and sets the foundation for our health moving forward. So research is suggesting that a balanced microbiome actually enhances the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin, which are vital for regulating mood and anxiety. This is not easy in the culture that we live in. If you think about what kids are offered, the foods that are around. I know I have a child that struggles with sensory issues, and what I want my kids to eat often isn't what they are eating because there's these other things that are available. But we have to take this information and do the best that we can with it so that we're setting them up. And when I see struggles or mental health struggles with my kids, I want to make sure that I am really looking at the root of this is like, what kind of imbalance could be there and how can we help that to promote health in many ways. And that's across the lifespan. So I'm saying probiotics, prebiotics, they promote health in many ways. So I would always think of them as our like good bacteria, our friendly microbiomes. They will absorb more nutrients. they actually discourage the bad bacteria, the opportunistic bacteria that tries to take over, and they even will reduce inflammation, all of which are beneficial to your overall health. So it's not just supplements either. Many foods contain probiotics and prebiotics. So I don't want you to hear me when I talk about probiotics and prebiotics just as supplements, because they actually are in your food. A lot of other cultures just implement them into their eating just in such a natural way, more so than we do in our Western society. So we kind of sometimes do have to supplement things that we aren't getting in our diet on a regular basis. So before we dive into the ways that probiotics and prebiotics can impact our health and how to get them, here's just kind of defining it and what I mean when I talk about them. So the microbiome, you might hear, if we're talking about the large intestine of your digestive tract, there are trillions of friendly microbiomes that naturally inhabit that area. Most of them are bacteria, the microbes, but some are also health-promoting viruses and fungi. So all these tiny, tiny organisms living together are called the microbiome. Everyone starts with a unique microbiome at birth, and this is influenced by many, many factors, including what we eat and what supplements or medications we take, our stress levels, and so much more. Probiotics are live microorganisms that are intended to have health benefits when we consume them or apply them to the body. And the word comes from Greek words pro and bios, meaning for life. Prebiotics are non-digestible food components. They selectively stimulate the growth and activity of desirable microorganisms. So they're essentially food for the microbes in your gut, and they are used to help grow a diverse and thriving microbiome. The term psychobiotics is starting to come out, and those are probiotics that confer mental health benefits. They're specifically helping with mental health. So when I use those words, probiotics, prebiotics, psychobiotics, hopefully everyone has a very diverse understanding of what that means. All of these are going to help maintain a balance of gut microbiome's benefits within the gut. And the list of positive health effects is growing daily because of all the research in this area. And so we know that they help digest food. We know they help promote gut health. We know they help produce essential nutrients. We know that they help influence the immune system. We know they help improve mood and mental health, and even reduce the impact of inflammation and toxin-producing other microbiomes. So we're actually trying to improve our health with these things. Those microbes that are there, making up the whole microbiome, we're saying that is what helps our health in many ways. It's also contributing to healthy bowel function. It may help many conditions that people are really struggling with. So a lot of people that struggle with either diarrhea or constipation could be showing that there's an imbalance of the gut microbiome. So how does a healthy gut microbiome achieve a healthy gut? First, I would say certain microbes produce health-promoting substances. These are called short-chain fatty acids, and they also may produce certain B vitamins. And these nutrients are absorbed by the body, and they go on to nourish other areas of the body. Other substances produced by gut microbes help lower the pH of that part of the gut, and that helps in digesting our food, breaking down food, and all of that. And also, they might reinforce the gut lining or the gut barrier to prevent leaky gut and those sorts of things. We know that the gut microbiome can also reduce inflammation, it can eliminate toxins, and it can boost your body's ability to absorb essential minerals. So, now when I'm explaining the microbiome to people, and then I'm trying to also explain some things that could go awry in this area, I always have in my mind that there's no cookie cutter way to heal the gut. Like, I have people ask me all the time what they should do in this area with probiotics and prebiotics. And I always say, well, I can give you general information because I know generally what is safe for people, but there are times where certain probiotics and prebiotics may not be appropriate for people. So I'll give the example of SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I always think about a picture of Venn diagram. So the two circles that overlap, and there's this part in the middle. There are some things that are really good for the large intestine and trying to build this probiotic, prebiotics over here. And that's like the stuff, the fermented foods like kombucha and kimchi and all these things, yogurts and all that people think, oh, those are really good for the gut. And yes, they are. But then if there's SIBO, that is bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, a lot of those fermented foods can actually make SIBO worse. So if you're trying to eat all the fermented foods and you are noticing more gas and bloating and things like that, it could be possible that you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And what we want to do is we kind of want to find where those two circles overlap and treat there in the middle. If we're unsure or if we have symptoms in both areas, I think it's very, very important because I've seen people load up on the wrong things, just guessing and not knowing, and then the symptoms could worsen. So it's really, really helpful to know exactly what's going on in the gut. But I'm just giving this example of SIBO. If you were to have SIBO, it would cause all kinds of issues within the gut and can be caused by poor motility. That means that your movement is slowed down of food and waste through the intestines. That can lead to bacterial overgrowth there. That could be because of IBS or diabetes, or even an upregulated immune system or an upregulated nervous system. There could be a disruption in that microbiome because of frequent or inappropriate use of antibiotics that allow that harmful bacteria to proliferate. It could be a weakened immune system, a compromised immune system. So that's whether it's chronic illness or certain medications that reduce the body's ability to control bacterial overgrowth. It could be because of high sugar or high processed foods, refined carbohydrates that promote the growth of certain bacteria in the small intestine. It could be underlying health conditions like Crohn's or celiacs, or any disorder that affects the intestines can increase the risk of SIBO. So I think when we wonder, okay, do I have SIBO? A lot of times people will have bloating or gas or diarrhea or constipation, one or the other, abdominal pain. But SIBO is really important to be able to recognize because it disrupts normal digestion and your nutrient absorption. So we have to make sure that we're selecting the right strains of probiotics in these cases, and understand what the roles are of common probiotic strains and their effects. the dangers of choosing the wrong probiotics could be that you exacerbate SIBO symptoms, especially if they're high FODMAP strains. So it's good to know. I would say a lot of times a safe place could be a Saccharomyces boulardii as a beneficial yeast. It helps restore the gut balance, and there's evidence supporting its use in managing SIBO symptoms and promoting gut health. So that could be a place where you would start, along with a low FODMAP diet, which would be staying away from fermented foods in that case. So that's just a kind of a caveat or something to think about as we're walking through this, is like, which circle do you fit in? And do you feel like maybe you might have symptoms of SIBO? Because that could possibly change what you would introduce as far as probiotics and prebiotics. So I know that's a long segue, but I think it's important to note that. I would feel like I was doing a disservice if I was just explaining all these strains of bacteria and not mentioning SIBO as a possible issue. When we're thinking about mood or mental health or the psychobiotics, there's a growing area of research about nutritional psychiatry linking what we eat to how we feel mentally and emotionally. And this has been an interest of mine, definitely, because of how I have seen food impact the people that I love the most and myself as well. So many studies show the strength of this food mood connection. So when we're eating high quality, nutritious, nutrient rich food, we're nourishing the brain. That keeps inflammation down. It keeps our mood more stable. Plus, many chronic gut conditions are often associated with mood disorders or accompany mood disorders like depression and anxiety. So, as mentioned earlier, there is a subset of probiotics that have mental health benefits that we are now starting to call psychobiotics. A recent review of 7 clinical trials published in the medical journal BMJ Nutrition Prevention and Health found certain probiotic supplements with and without prebiotics were linked to measurable reductions in depression. So we have to ask, how does the gut health influence the mind and emotion via this gut-brain axis? And we have to look at some neurotransmitters and neurohormones are produced in the gut. It is estimated that 90 to 95% of serotonin in our body is produced by the gut. And serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps regulate sleep, appetite, emotions, and reduce pain. The digestive system also contains 100 million nerve cells and is the hub for the immune system. A healthy gut microbiome is going to help regulate our stress response and inflammation through the whole body. So it is huge, the role that it has in our nervous system, and thus impacting behavior and how we view the world and how we see the world. So we want to make sure that we're getting the right strains and enough of these things. So like I said, probiotics, prebiotics, all of these can be found in foods and supplements. So I want to make sure that we talk through what probiotic foods could be and prebiotic foods. Probiotic foods would be fermented foods, a lot of times that are produced with the help of bacteria. So some of these are like yogurt, kefir, pickles, sauerkraut, kombucha. However, not all fermented foods still contain live active cultures of those bacteria by the time they get to the market or the grocery store. So the best bet is to choose fermented products from the refrigerated section and check the product labels to ensure they actually contain live active cultures. Or better yet, you can make your own fermented foods. I know some food companies are now fortifying unfermented foods like cereals, juices with probiotics. So I don't really know exactly what that means yet, but or what that looks like, or if it even works. But that's what we're trying to see, what we're starting to see. Prebiotic foods are fiber-rich foods, so whole grains, oatmeal, whole grain breads, pastas, vegetables like asparagus, leeks, onions, starchy vegetables like sweet potato or corn, bananas, legumes. Enjoying a variety of those fiber-rich foods naturally helps boost the health and the biodiversity of your microbiome. So, in addition to eating these good probiotic, prebiotic foods, it's also a good idea to limit foods that can deplete your friendly gut microbes. So that includes fewer processed foods that are high in sugars, artificial sweeteners, and saturated fats. Those are the things that are going to rob you. So if you're thinking about the balance, you really have to think about what you're feeding on both ends and how they could possibly be working against each other. If we're thinking about taking a supplement, there are many strains of probiotic microbes available, each having a very unique effect. Some of the most common strains include Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, Saccharomyces, Streptococcus, Enterococcus, Bacillus, but not all of these strains are similar to those found naturally in the microbiome. Supplement companies combine different strains of bacteria and yeast in different amounts to create many unique supplements to choose from. So you do kind of have a consumer problem here as you're looking at everything, because there are a lot to choose from. So I'm going to tell you about the families, some of these bigger families, and how you could find them beneficial. So Lactobacillus, the family of Lactobacillus, that means you'll see other words after it a lot of times, as there's different types, helps maintain gut health by balancing intestinal flora. It aids in lactose digestion and it enhances immune function. So some strains are effective in managing diarrhea and improving symptoms of IBS. Another important thing about Lactobacillus is it counteracts the overgrowth of Candida. So a lot of times what I'll see in the lab work is I'll see Candida overgrowth and low or no growth Lactobacillus. So we can try to balance those things back out. Bifidobacterium is really important with supporting immune health. It also may help alleviate constipation. Those strains are often used in probiotics for their role in improving digestive health in infants and adults. Saccharomyces boulardii, we already mentioned with SIBO. It is a beneficial yeast that helps prevent and treat diarrhea, especially post-antibiotic associated diarrhea. It also helps support the gut barrier function and has anti-inflammatory properties. Streptococcus, certain strains like Streptococcus thermophilus, those are used in yogurt production. They can aid in lactose digestion. They can promote gut health and your immune responses. Enterococcus is another one. Some strains help with gut health by producing things that actually inhibit harmful bacteria. So that's why this is important, because it almost keeps the harmful bacteria in check. But you definitely need to use it with caution, as certain strains can be opportunistic pathogens as well. So it is a balance. There are also certain strains of Bacillus that are known for their resilience and ability to survive harsh GI conditions. They can support digestion, they can enhance immune function, and may help with your gut barrier integrity. One that is, I feel, newer in the research and not mentioned a lot is Akkermansia. And it's known for its role in maintaining gut barrier function, and it's linked to improved metabolic health and reduced inflammation. It actually may help in weight management as it's associated with a healthy microbiome. So I 100% recommend that. There's also ways to encourage the growth of Akkermansia in your intestine. I will use clove and green tea mixture and drink that on a daily basis. And that combination actually helps influence the growth of Akkermansia in the intestine, which is pretty cool. If we're talking about specifically for mood disruptions and mood disorders, there are strains of those specific families. So Lactobacillus rhamnosus, studies have shown that strain reduces stress and anxiety-like behavior. If we're looking at bifidobacterial longum, that strain has been associated with reduced activity and improved mood. Lactobacillus helveticus is known for its potential to reduce stress and anxiety levels. And then Saccharomyces boulardii, primarily known for gut health, but it may also have mood stabilizing effects because of its impact on gut health and inflammation. So hopefully that gives you an idea. I will give you a link in the show notes to some of my favorites you can find on our FULLSCRIPT apothecary. I use a couple different brands that I feel like are effective with my clients, and we can see the changes from them. Unlike foods, the manufacturers of probiotic supplements isn't monitored in the US, and some products have been found to have different or fewer probiotics than what's listed on the label. So that's why it's important to choose high quality probiotics whenever possible. And you want to choose the strains and the amount of strains depending on what you're needing. So if you need intensive doses, that might be very appropriate to invest in that for a good 12 weeks and then go down into a smaller strain and then down to a more maintenance dose. So I always think about it as an investment in trying to build that good bacteria at a good rate. Note that some probiotic supplements should not be given to premature infants or people with severe illnesses or compromised immune systems without recommendation from a qualified healthcare professional. If you feel like you're sensitive to supplementation, you might want something that you can titrate up. I recommend under supervision because it is a lot of adjusting that has to take place. When we're talking about prebiotic supplements, these are ones that contain starches that the gut microbes consume and metabolize into beneficial compounds. So they're fiber-rich supplements. They may contain inulin. They may contain GOS or FOS or lactulose. So just know that there are various ones out there. A lot of times you can get these through your food if you're eating a well-balanced, healthy diet. Gut health is just more than just a well-functioning, optimal digestive system. Gut health influences physical and mental health in so many ways. So I just wanted to highlight these things to you guys, give you an idea of what these different strains are. Things that you could possibly think about that could be influencing you, and then hopefully get you to eat more probiotic and prebiotic rich foods in your diet on a regular basis so that you can optimize your gut health and your mental health and your overall health. So if you want help and you need help, I'd love to help. I'm always here to actually run a comprehensive stool analysis on you and see what bacteria you are low in. And that actually helps us to know what strains we need to introduce and maybe also what strains we need to decrease if there's stuff that we need to clear out of there. and get things back in balance. And I always see that as my annual wellness exam. That is something that gives me an idea of how I'm doing with my health, because the gut is ever changing. And we want to make sure that we stay on top of it as much as possible. So, if you were to invest in any way, knowing what your gut is doing on an annual basis is super helpful to be able to put your energy where you know you need to. And specifically, if you're going to buy supplements, you know exactly what you're investing in and why, and how much you need to take and how long you need to take it and all of that. But hopefully this clears some of that up for you guys, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'm going to put some references in the show notes along with a link to my FULLSCRIPT apothecary with some of my favorite probiotics in there for you guys to choose from. Thank you for being with us today, and thanks for listening to Be Whole, Be Well, and Be Wise. Make sure to join me on Instagram at shellytyler.wellness and join my private Facebook group, Functional Wellness for Christian Women, by clicking my link in my bio if you haven't already. Before we go, show some love to your new favorite podcasts by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon, and then subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you.